Crowd was absolutely on board with that. They want to see this final. They were already really cheering in the semifinals, but this is the game we have all been waiting for. We are crowning a new champion of YCS Utrecht here in 2022, and it is between Joshua Schmidt and Dinh-Kha, and Joshua Schmidt is going to start things off here with Runick Fountain.
And this card is going to be so important in this Runick Spright mirror match. This is the card that everyone is playing Runick because of.
Yep, it is the advantage generation machine of the archetype. You are going to draw multiple cards on both your turn and your opponent's turn, and therefore it probably is the heart and soul of the whole deck. And he's searching for another one even right there by discarding the wind-up kitten out of his hand. And he is off to a good start therefore.
Yeah, and this means that he could actually draw so many more cards, other than just the one that he already got, if he activates the next fountain as well. And he special summons Spright Blue from hand, so this is already everything he wants to have.
This is fantastic, because sometimes we saw Joshua struggle to actually get the combination of both Runick and Spright cards, but here he already instantly has access to Spright Blue as well, and therefore is off to the start that deck wants to have, and he is definitely going to draw cards with Runick Fountain later on as well, so he definitely is going where he wants to go.
Spright Blue, such a perfect generic searcher, gets out the Spright Jet, and this one fetches the Spright Smashes, which is such a good removal.
Yep, first interruption for the opponent's turn already secured. So both of them have actually decided to play the Runick Spright deck. We both talked about that deck over the course of the day, both being on the same boat basically, but this probably is the best pick for the event. And basically we now see that we probably were right, because this deck is in the hands of both players here in the finals. And this is honestly somewhat surprising. We haven't seen Dinh-Kha in the featured match all event long, but this guy usually is not on the meta deck. But this time, his friends convinced him to play Runick Spright as well, to be on the best deck. And now with the best deck in his hands, he's even stronger. And so he sits here in the finals versus Joshua Schmidt.
Joshua, however, has oftentimes been seen playing meta decks, and he does so perfectly. One of the truly best players there are in the world, and now he is already opening with a great hand. He has Spright Elf, he has a target protected Djinn Buster, and he's just setting one more card. As soon as he activates the Djinn Buster, he gets to draw one more card from Capshell, and this is a really good start for Joshua.
Yeah, the inclusion of Capshell is really, really cool. At first, nobody was really paying attention to this, similar to Iperia, but now Iperia and Capshell both being pretty much staples in the deck all of a sudden, and both players, both Dinh-Kha and Joshua Schmidt, are on both cards.
Iperia actually gave Joshua the Spright starter that he needed to win the game in the semifinals, so he must love this card now.
That's why he's even sitting here. And both players are really, really focused, and it's also very, very common for them. Whenever you see Joshua Schmidt or Dinh-Kha play, they don't really laugh a lot, but you really see them focused on the game, and they are usually winning, and therefore they're here in the finals.
So this is a board that can be Lava Golemed, not be Sphere moded. I think that Dinh-Kha is just running Lava Golem in the main deck, or is he even...
Yep, indeed. He is only running the Lava Golem in the main deck. That's a little difference between their lists, because Dinh-Kha is only playing that and siding the Sphere modes. And Joshua Schmidt actually main decks triple Lava Golem, and he's also main decking the Sphere modes, right? Oh no, I just see he is also having them in side decks, so basically the same decision there.
So another card that has found its way into the Spright decks is Wind-Up Kitten. This card is used as a tool to break the opponent's field, remove monsters from field, because most of the time you don't have a battle phase when playing Runick spells.
Absolutely, and we now have Runick Tip being activated while the Fountain is already on the field, and we are chaining Spright Elf to it, getting our Spright Jet out from the graveyard.
And this is actually really smart from Joshua, because if he searches for the Freezing Curses now, he can actually negate Elf whenever he wants to do it, and then he couldn't chain it anymore. So now he has Jet already summoned, and Freezing Curses can't hit the Djinn Buster because it is protected by Elf.
Yeah, this looks like Runick Destruction that he had there. So he wants to go after the back row. Tip banishes the tip. I think we did actually search for Destruction. So he either wants to have an answer to the back row, or maybe even more important, to the Runick Fountain. Yeah, that would be really smart here from Dinh-Kha.
There's no Hugin on the field, so no protection there.
Yeah, and there's not even a way for the Hugin to find its way onto the field because there is a Spright Elf in the extra monster zone, and those Spright cards, oh no, those Runick cards actually always have to summon into the extra monster zone. And therefore he couldn't protect it from that Runick destruction. But so far he has not played that one out. He's considering his options. He still has 5 cards in hand, I think, so options are plenty. Which way is he going here? And he is now starting it off with the Runick destruction, and Joshua sees the bad news and he is just putting his fountain to the graveyard. He almost did so.
He did not put it there yet, so he is still considering if there is anything else he wants to activate. Maybe he has a destruction on his own.
No, Dinh-Kha is chaining something and it's Forbidden Droplet. That is a card that has not seen a whole lot of play lately, but Dinh-Kha decided to play it, and he probably negated the Djinn Buster right there.
Yeah, exactly. Djinn Buster does not harm anything anymore. Djinn Buster also, it cannot be targeted, but Forbidden Droplet, as many of you know, does not even target at all.
Yep, and now we have the one-off Runick Dispelling being activated by Dinh-Kha, and I would assume that we just go into the extra deck to special summon out Hugin. That's probably what he's just doing, grabbing the extra deck, Hugin hitting the field, and now Hugin could potentially activate its effect on the field, but maybe he just wants a level 2 body on the field. That's, I think, as likely to me.
You don't always have to discard a card to get a fountain, of which you already have one on the field.
Exactly,
so maybe that's enough for him. He special summons Spright Jet, so both players have full access to both of their engines. And let's see how many cards Dinh-Kha will draw this turn.
Yep, he is searching for Spright starters, so it's really good to see that both players have, as you say, access to both of their engines, to their full deck, so they can really show off who's better with that deck in that direct comparison in a literal mirror match right here.
And it also comes down to the differences of the main decks of both of these players. Dinh-Kha decided to run Forbidden Droplet, and I don't think that Joshua has considered this card.
Probably not, no. It's a card that really has fallen out of popularity lately, but Dinh-Kha was like, hey, I'm going to play it anyway, and maybe I'm just going to win a YCS with it.
I mean, it is a quick spell.
Indeed, it is.
Oh, and very smart of Joshua. Even though the Djinn Buster is negated, he can still activate the effect for cost. And when Capshell is detached for cost for the effect of an Exceeds monster, you get to draw a card, and people like to do that.
That's why he's just pointing onto it in the graveyard. So one more card in the hand of Joshua, and Dinh-Kha is searching for Spright Carrot right there with the Spright Blue he just summoned.
So I think he is at 6 cards in hand. He has 1 back row, 3 monsters on the field, and there is no battle phase for Dinh-Kha in this turn.
Yeah, I think we're not going to see an awful lot of battle phases in this matchup anyways, because there's so many Runick spell cards being activated. And Dinh-Kha is not done yet. He now wants to go into what should be Gigantic Spright right there. Yes, it is Gigantic Spright indeed.
The big boy of the Spright archetype.
Yep, I mean, options are not even that many in this extra deck. It could have also been Onibimaru's Soul Sweeper, but right there it just makes sense to go into the Gigantic Spright, to get your engine more and more going, to get more level 2 monsters out. Do you think he's going into Hyperia here? I think that's kind of good. Maybe even Capshell?
Yeah, Capshell or Hyperia would have been my guess. There's also the option that he will go for Spright Red.
Sure,
let's just see what he chooses to do. Because he could summon Red in the middle zone and then go into Elf with the Gigantic and the Hugin. No, he goes for Hyperia and just gets to draw another card. More cards, more options, more good.
Absolutely. If you can extend your options, if you have more possible ways to go, and that's why this deck is so skillful. That's why we have so accomplished players sitting here in the finals. This deck gives you so many different routes because you are confronted with so many different ways to play when you are drawing more and more cards, because the options are so plenty, and therefore sometimes you can struggle. But such a player like Joshua Schmidt or Dinh-Kha, he just always finds the best way to play, and you could tell because they're sitting in the finals.
I don't know how they do it, honestly. There are so many tense situations. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is such a complicated game, and this is a good thing, by the way.
Yeah. And it's also a healthy sign for the format right now.
Yeah.
Because skill absolutely is the most important factor we have right now.
Both players have fought their way through countless games. And now Dinh-Kha is going for the Elf, pointing at Carrot. Do we know anything about the set card from Joshua? It is Spright Smashers, right?
It should be Spright Smashers, but for a second when I saw his hand, I had a feeling that there's still these Spright Smashers in hand. So maybe it's a bluff rather.
Does Joshua play triple tactic talents?
Yes, he does play 2 copies of it in the main deck.
I think he has both of them in hand.
Ooh.
Oh, and there is Spright Red already in hand.
That's honestly not too bad for Dinh-Kha here. You might be able to get this one through right here.
Even though this one is not protected by Elf, so I don't know what that's all about.
Maybe even a little bit of a sign of nervous.
Or he might go into IP Masquerena or another threatening Link 2 monster.
It is indeed IP Masquerena right there. So he gives himself the options to go into more links on his opponent's turn, and he is playing the Nightmare Unicorn and also the Magnite Crusader Avramax, that are both of his options to go into with the effect of IP Masquerena.
I don't think that Unicorn is the best card here in this mirror match.
Probably not, no.
However, IP targeting protected is really good to dodge some spells. Like you could activate the red effect, tribute something, and when it is supposed to be negated by freezing curses, then you can chain IP.
That's cool, yeah, for sure, definitely.
Also, Avramax is really good in this matchup.
Indeed it is. I think something that's really, really, really good of both players is that they're playing triple Runick Slumber, because this card seems to be perfectly designed for the mirror match, because this card actually protects you from effect destruction for once per turn, and this just dodges all the freezing curses in the end. No, not the freezing curses, the flashing fires, of course. Yeah. So I feel like both of these guys expected a whole lot of Runick Spright for this event, and they were right with that, of course.
So there is one card I can see in Joshua's deck that might give him the edge.
Tell me about it.
I want to see.
Tell me all about it.
If Dinh-Kha is playing it too, it is Runick Smiting Storm. So I can imagine that these matchups tend to be really grindy at some point.
Of course,
and,
for sure.
Because of the Runick Fountain, you can always recycle your cards, of course, but there are ways to get rid of Runick Fountain. So Runick Smiting Storm might be the card that lets you deck out your opponent, because there are many cards on this field right now.
Indeed, that could be a pretty big banishing scenario. Both of them playing one Smiting Storm, and also both of them made the decision to play double Runick Fountain. We saw some lists with only one Runick Fountain, and we didn't really like it, because the risk of just losing out completely on your Runick Fountain seemed pretty big when there was just a single Cosmic Cyclone or something, and therefore we definitely agree on playing multiple copies of the field spell. I would say you're on board with that, right?
Absolutely.
So it is another draw for Dinh-Kha right there.
With the Hyperia being summoned back by Elf. So Elf is summoning back the Wind-Up Kitten on Joshua's side, as we have already talked about it. And now we can see if he actually decides to use his... No, he doesn't have a battle phase. We know that already. That
will be a very common scenario in this match again.
Way too many spells in the first turn. I mean, one would have been enough, but the Wind-Up Kitten is supposed to break the board.
Yeah.
Even though this Elf is doing a really good job at protecting.
True. We haven't seen a whole lot of this card either for a very long time. This card basically was played the last time when we had Wind Up in the metagame as a pure deck.
And I don't even know if it was played back then.
Indeed, I don't even really remember that either. But now this card was all of a sudden another staple in all of the Runick Spright decks. We all of a sudden saw everyone playing Hyperia, we saw everyone playing Captcha, and also everyone being on Wind Up Kitten.
Yeah, if you don't have your battle phase, you need to have some cards that are proactive, and they have to break the opponent's field. You have to get rid of all of those monsters, because you have seen it. Joshua ended up with a small board. He just had 3 monsters, and after Dinh-Kha's turn, which was huge, he used so many cards, he still had this exact same board. And there is Magnite Crusader Avramax.
We finally have a pretty big monster on board. That's 3,000 attack points there for Magnite Crusader Avramax, and of course also the battle phase effect, where it could even increase its own effect, its own attack.
Also, this effect might not be too relevant this game,
because attacking is not really happening. You're right.
So both players are probably just going to sit on their Crusader Magnite Avramaxes for some time.
Yeah.
If Joshua decides to summon it.
Let's see. Joshua definitely the one now having to make a decision, because it's his turn right there. Din very preemptively went with the IP Masquerena into Avramax just to prevent further damage from Joshua's side, and Joshua apparently wants to go into Gigantic Spright here.
If Avramax attacks another Avramax, the attacking Avramax wins, right?
Why do you think so?
Because you have turn player priority? It is not. Oh, it is not a trigger effect, so I think...
I mean, I think the turn player would need to activate first, and then the other one would chain, so the one of the non-turn player would resolve first. I would assume, and then the other one resolves as well. Yeah, it's a bad thing, indeed.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But there we see the Spright Smashers on the side of Dinh-Kha Bui. What does he want to get rid of here? Is he just going after the Gigantic Spright? Probably, right?
We don't know it yet. That's the fun part about Spright Smashers.
It's not targeting, it is just banishing on resolve, and he gets rid of the Hyperia and the back row all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, Smashers is a pretty good out to Avramax, right?
Indeed it is, and Joshua didn't even want to chain it. Do you think he saw that coming, that Dinh-Kha Bui is going after the back row here? Or maybe he just disregarded that completely. He was like, yeah, he's probably going to get rid of my Gigantic Spright, which I just summoned. But no, Dinh-Kha Bui was like, hey, I'm going to go after this now.
I mean, maybe he considered it, but if you chain your Spright Smashes, then Dinh-Kha is for sure going to take away your Gigantic Spright, and you have to take away a monster of yours on your own. So you will end up on a significantly smaller board.
Yeah, you're right. I can see that absolutely. Wind Up Kitten right now has not really done the trick, and also you cannot bounce the Avramax, so bouncing Spright Red and Spright Carrot does not seem too great either. So this card probably more good versus the T-Elements matchup, because bouncing Kid Colors or Kaleido Heart seems a lot better to me.
Yeah, this is a really easy way to get rid of the Kaleido Heart, a card that is otherwise so sticky. And there we can see the second Runick Fountain of the game for Joshua Schmidt. He has searched it in the first turn with Hugin, I think.
And now we go into Onibimaru. Joshua really going into every single XYZ he can find in his extra deck. And what are we going to banish with Onibimaru there? Or trying to banish, rather.
Onibimaru also has a float effect, right? If this card in its owner control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can target banished monsters up to the number of materials this card had, shuffle them into the deck.
Ooh.
Okay.
And he is using the first effect of Onibimaru now. What are we trying to banish? Looks like we're going after Spright Red, and yes, indeed it is banished now.
He does not want to give up this carrot just yet, so he just lets the red go for this and the next turn. So again, a gigantic board for Joshua, but does it really help him in this situation?
But there now is the Runick engine again. I think Joshua wants to start drawing cards again with his Runick Fountain. And he is going after the Spright Carrot right there with the freezing curses. Oh, he banished a Lava Golem there with the banishing effect of freezing curses. So one last thing to worry about for Joshua. He built a big board, so Lava Golem certainly would have been a card that could have ended the party there.
So Joshua is just using this to get another draw, because this carrot, even if it was negated, it couldn't even activate the effect. So this was purely kind of an upstart goblin.
Yeah, but what I'm worrying about right now for Joshua is he's summoning a lot of monsters. He actually has all of his main monster zones filled, but not a single one of those so far can get over the Avramax that's on the other side of the field. But there's Dark coming.
I think that's a problem that Joshua will deal with when he gets to it. I think he is really not considering battle phases at this point. Oh,
he's also summoning the IP of his opponent.
So this is just going to be Magnite Crusadia Avramax.
And Talons as well. He could take the Avramax at some point.
Out the Avramax as well. He is just taking this monster. This was such an easy out, and Dinh-Kha Bui invested quite a lot in it.
Indeed. I think Dinh-Kha Bui really thought that this is going to be a major win condition in this game, or at least a condition to stay in this game for a longer time, to actually sit on the Avramax for a while. But Joshua Schmidt just takes it over with Talon, and then it's not there anymore in a matter of seconds.
So he is linking away the Dark and the Magnite Crusadia Avramax to summon out a Spright Elf. Avramax does not trigger in the GUI to shuffle a card back from your opponent, because it was not because of an opponent's card effect or battle.
That is indeed true. Joshua finds another back row, and it's back over to Dinh-Kha Bui, and he now is once more in the driver's seat. Let's see how much he can get out of that one Spright carrot he has on board. I mean, that's a good thing. He starts with a level 2 monster on board at the beginning of his turn, so all of his Sprites in hand are immediately live to be special summoned and use its effect, and that looks like a Spright Jet, which is just going to do that.
However, this Spright Jet is not protected by anything, and Red could just immediately negate it. By tributing the gigantic Spright, it would even destroy it. So we are not sure in this situation if Dinh-Kha is going to be able to set up another board this turn.
That will be interesting to see. Joshua is really checking both graveyards, eager to make the correct call here, whether to negate or not. I think he's leaning towards yes. He was already almost typing onto his Spright Red, but now comes the decision, once more shuffling through his graveyard. By the way, I love the hand motions of Joshua Schmidt. He's spreading his graveyard like no one else on the planet, I feel like.
So, Gigantic Spright was tributed, I think, to negate the effect of Spright Jet. I think it actually happened, and Elf is chained immediately to summon out Capshell, which makes sense because he has IP Masquerena on board, and this one could get linked away. Does he go for a Unicorn already?
He does. He goes for a Link 3, and that is supposed to be Unicorn, Nightmare Unicorn. Now it's the field.
Does he get rid of the fountain or of the carrot?
What do you think?
I don't know. It depends on his
It
last
will
card.
be the Runick fountain.
So he's trying to shuffle it away, and the Capshell draws him yet another card. This is getting tougher and tougher for Dinh-Kha Bui.
Kha is shuffling his deck there, and he now has to come up with a solution for the scenario that Joshua has presented him with.
Gives it over to Joshua. Joshua is sitting there with his 4 monsters, with his Spright Elf that was already used, with his carrot and his red. And he is sitting there like, come at me, bro. I am going to beat you in this game 1 of this final of the YCS Utrecht 2022.
Yeah, especially because Spright Carrot has not even used its effect yet. Even if Dinh-Kha Bui has a spell card to extend here, it's not the greatest because Spright Carrot will be there.
2 cards. Does he pass here already?
He does. Now there will be a monster returning that was when... Oh, he has a Spright Red at least. At least something. Dinh-Kha Bui now has the option to use either Spright Carrot or Spright Red on field whenever a spell card or a monster effect is activated.
I like that. After
And there's the Lava Golem now of Joshua
getting rid of both of those monsters. You said at least he has that going for him, the red and the carrot, but nope. There is a Lava Golem, and he did not even use a single Runick card in the last turn of Dinh-Kha Bui, so I think he should have his battle phase here.
Yep, I think this time we finally will have a battle phase of Joshua Schmidt. Kha down to 6,900 life points due to the effect of Spright Starter, and it will be interesting to see whether Joshua would be able to take those down in this turn immediately.
The big question is Joshua able to win the game this turn?
It would be very helpful for him.
Of course.
Ending it quicker is always better than waiting longer.
Oh, he's summoning the Wind-Up Kitten, and this card is able to get the Lava Golem back to Joshua's hand.
He's grabbing it himself. It's mine. Give it back to me.
Flipping the monsters. He's changing them to attack position. Those are looking threatening right now. 1,200, 1,000, 1,400. I should have started counting.
But this looks like game. This definitely looks like more than 6,900 life attack points. We're grabbing the life point sheet.
2,000, 4,2, 5,2, 6,6. It should be 6,6.
Oh, that would not be enough, but that would put Dinh-Kha Bui down to the range where he couldn't even use Spright Starter anymore.
Absolutely.
Which would still be pretty unfortunate for him. But yes, he is indeed down to 300 life points.
There is
and Joshua has Spright Starter to maybe end it in the battle phase. Dinh-Kha Bui is nodding. Is that the game-ending move right here?
So he is summoning Spright Blue out of his deck. Spright Blue activates again. He's probably going to fetch another Spright Jet that he hasn't used yet.
And we're attacking for game! Joshua Schmidt is taking game number 1 over Dinh-Kha Bui right here. Joshua Schmidt, 2-time YCS champion, maybe about to make it 3 times.
Absolutely massive. He started and he got, I think, kind of stopped immediately by Dinh-Kha Bui. He actually had a great first turn. He set up such a big board, but he committed too much in the Avramax. actually got rid of these Spright Smashers, which was good for him, so he thought, maybe I can win this game off of this Avermax, but it got taken away by triple tactic talents. And this is the thing, even though the players know what deck the opponent is playing in Top Cut, at some point they don't know the exact deck list. And this triple tactic talent, I'm pretty sure Dinh-Kha did not know of.
Yeah, it caught him off guard indeed. He was really, really hoping that that one card would at least buy him a couple of turns, and it didn't. It was really taken away so quickly.
It was literally taken away.
Let's now compare the side decks of Joshua Schmidt and Dinh-Kha Bui. Dinh-Kha Bui will be the one going first now, so considering his options going first, there's a pretty decent one. I think you're already eyeballing the one I'm eyeballing as well. What are you seeing?
This is Eradicator Epidemic Virus. It is a 3-off that is not searchable. However, he does draw some cards.
We're drawing at least 10 cards in our opening turn anyway, so Eradicator would really be an option.
You can just tribute away one gigantic Spright that has a extra deck monster material under it with the 3,200 attack points. It is a perfect fit for the Eradicator, calling spells, and this can actually steal games.
For sure it can. And also, of course, we have to look into Joshua's side deck, and Joshua is side decking Forbidden Droplets. That one card we thought that Dinh-Kha Bui is like playing on his own, that nobody else is playing, but he's actually side decking it instead of main decking it. And this could come in here. I could really see that coming. And then also, he's probably bringing in the sphere modes. I would assume so, right?
Yeah, I think Sphere Mode is really good. We have seen that Lava Golem was really strong.
Oh, yeah.
And this game is really all about the spells. They are both playing Lava Golem, they are both playing Ra Sphere Mode, so you definitely can't win by putting up threatening fields with big monsters. They don't even play big monsters, let's be honest, except for Avermax. But those are outed really quickly.
It's great to see Lava Golem and Sphere Mode rising in popularity so much, because they have similar effects. They're both tributing the opponent's field without activating an effect, but just summon itself. And this is really getting popular because you're also playing around so much stuff. No negate can stop it. You just drop it on the field and you're good to go.
And you're summoning them instead of your normal summons, so you can only play them in decks that are not heavily reliant on the normal summon. And we are about to see Game 2 because the players are ready. Let's look at it.
Can Dinh-Kha Bui fight back here after losing game number 1 to Joshua Schmidt? It is on him starting it off here, and he's hoping for a good hand, maybe hoping for an Eradicator Epidemic Virus, which we just talked about, because all those spell cards, when they get hit by Eradicator, it's pretty tough. But we're starting things off with Runick Fountain and the Smiting Storm right there.
Oh, this card is of course going to be Summon Hugin because you cannot banish cards from Joshua's deck just now because he does not control any.
Indeed. So he's definitely just going into Hugin, and Joshua almost seemed bored by that. He is like, yep, okay, there's Hugin coming. And I think Joshua can just, which is really cool about his deck, he can just sit back basically in his opponent's turn because he's not really playing any hand interactions. Oh, that's not good for Dinh-Kha Bui there.
That's not the perfect start that you want to have. You want to have the Spright Blue or at least the Spright Jet. However, he just starts with Carrot that is summoned. I mean, it's a good resource to have in the game. You can detach it off of the Gigantic. And now another Hugin is being summoned.
Yep. This time
send 2 cards back and draw 2.
He didn't activate the effect again. He's just not using Hugin effect, but he at least gets the draw 2 of Runick Fountain right there. Joshua picking back up his cards.
Joshua is on his absolute poker face right now. Dinh-Kha also has one. You can't really see it, but it is there, trust me. And now we are thinking about activating Gigantic Spright. I mean, you can draw a card, but you can also just get into your Spright engine with the blue and the jet. I think this is more cards in total, so you will probably see a blue here unless it was drawn already.
Let's see Dinh-Kha Bui thinking about this one. It definitely is not the best opening we've ever seen, but he's going to Cap Shell. He wants to draw more cards. He maybe wants to secure to draw into that Eradicator, and therefore goes for the copy of Cap Shell in his deck. And there's also Spright Starter now.
Yeah, and the Gigantic Spright is already at 3,200 attack points, so this one is ready to be tributed for this so important side deck card.
And now comes the Spright Starter. which probably is going to bring out either Spright Jet or Spright Red. Okay.
Talking about Spright Starter, time is going to be a factor in this game. I can tell you that. We took a long time for the first game. We are only down to 16 minutes. So Spright Starter is a card that can already hurt you now.
Indeed. This game 1 took really its sweet time. And now we are into game 2 where Dinh-Kha is trying to come up with the perfect end board for game here.
And we are searching for another Spright Starter, and this is interesting. So this should mean that there is already a Spright Smashers drawn by Dinh-Kha. But the really big important question that we are asking ourselves, and you are asking yourself as well, does he have the Eradicator?
That would be interesting to see. We are at least, first of all, linking away the Cap Shell into the Spright Elf.
Draw more cards.
There is another chance to draw into your side deck cards. And let's see, did he find it? Did he not? First of all, we're going to reborn the Spright Elf, of course. We're not going to forget about that. We are Dinh-Kha, and therefore we can just get another Cap Shell, probably setting up VIP Masquerena or Jin Buster, one of the two.
IP. I think it is supposed to be Buster now, because he has realized that his Evermax strategy did not really work out in the last game. So this is probably going to be Jin Buster.
It is indeed. We're going for the XYZ summon, and there we have him sitting pretty. Number 65, Jin Buster.
Yeah, such a great card, a card that has been forgotten basically since its release. Nobody played it, and I think it's so nice that with the release of the Spright cards, players basically just looked up in the database in Neuron. What?
Rank 2 XYZs
cards are there? What level, what rank, what Link 2 cards are there in the game? And they have found the most hilarious and the best cards, like Iperia, Capshell, Wind-Up Kitten,
for
Jin
sure.
Buster. Crazy cards. Such a nice toolbox deck.
But yeah, this board that Dinh-Kha created there is very much
is
Lava Golem
Smashers.
or also Sphere Modeable. So is Joshua drawing one of those cards? That could really be tough if he has it. There's the good old Ghost Rare Sphere Mode right there.
So the crowd is really
Joshua
tense.
is leaning in. Looks like a lot
monster.
of spell cards though.
There is one monster at least in the hand. I think that there is a Spright Starter as well. So if this is just a pure hand with Runick and Spright cards, this is a really strong board by Dinh-Kha.
It is. So Joshua, considering his options even more, I think he will have to make a decision now, and he has exactly done so. So we are starting things off here with the Freezing Curses, which should negate
the Elf.
And we are banishing the Red Resonator and the Forbidden Droplet right there.
Red Resonator, not a high value card, however. This card can be important later in the game, and if we are considering the factor of timeout. So this is already kind of nice for Joshua. It's an important resource that you have in your deck. You don't really want to draw it.
And now comes the Spright Starter. Joshua wants to get into his Spright engine, but also he will lock himself very early into only level 2 or rank 2 monsters.
Which is not really that big of a deal in this variant of the deck, right?
It certainly isn't, yeah. I mean, he cannot summon out Gary anymore, but you rather want to summon out Hagen anyways, so he definitely is okay with that. And he summons out the Spright Red. That must mean that he already has Spright Blue or Spright Jet in hand. More likely Spright Blue, to be honest.
So maybe this is the monster already in the hand that we have seen earlier. Red is kind of nice here. If Jin Buster tries to negate the effect of blue, you can just chain red. If you have Smashes here, you could have considered using it on red. I mean, Smashes is a valuable resource, of course, but so is red.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, when he summons out Spright Red, you can basically already anticipate that he will have Spright Blue in hand when he already used the Spright Starter earlier on. But now we see that he's using the Jin Buster effect on Spright Blue right there. And Joshua thinks about a response, but looks like it's going through.
He just takes the 500 burn damage that you take from Jin Buster. Another little bit of damage, and this is now Dinh-Kha being ahead in life points.
Yep, and he's also going to draw another card because of the effect of Capshell, which was detached for the effect of Jin Buster.
Actually, he already was ahead in life points before, just after the starter, because red has more attack points than Spright Blue.
That's true. And there comes the Jet now.
Yeah, he does not really need the blue effect, of course. Okay, you can negate it. I have the Jet in my hand already. And maybe this time he can search out Spright Smashers.
And Carr is considering it. Rechecking on his back row, which is
Does he have
probably
Freezing
Smashers. Freezing Curses would also be a card that would rather be in the hand right now, because yes, he does have Freezing Curses on the Spright Jet right there.
And this one will get Dinh-Kha another draw. There is just one card in the GY after this, which is Freezing Curses.
And yep, we are banishing one of the fountains.
That is huge, actually. And 2 blues.
Oh, we have all the blues gone now. I mean, one of them is on the field, but 2 of them banished. And then one of the fountains as well. And we are going to draw 1 card with the effect of Runick Fountain now as well.
So another card, another resource for Dinh-Kha. We have seen that both players really use the...
Oh, and there's a Runick tip. So if Joshua wants to have the second copy of Runick Fountain, he could very easily get it right here.
So let's just see if he does that. He already has 2 Runick cards in the GY. Now I think that Dinh-Kha is maybe just waiting for the Runick card with Smashes. So I think Joshua has to come up with a strategy to protect this card, or to at least get rid of the Smashes.
And Dinh-Kha, it's always interesting to see that all the different resources get banished, and therefore the scenario gets different and more different. Now you know your opponent does not have the option to go into Spright Red anymore, because
that is crazy.
The one that you are playing was actually just banished with the effect of Spright Tip. Or not Spright Tip,
so
Runick Tip.
Actually activates the fountain. So if that is a Smashers, this could be tough for him.
And now we're going into another rank 2. It is gigantic Sprites, so both players now control 1. And
so both players also don't have a battle phase for the next 2 turns.
Oh yeah, true. And it's really resolving. Dinh-Kha, no answer to that gigantic Spright, so he will be able to special summon something out, and I would be very, very... I think it's very likely that he's going to summon out either Iperia or Capshell, yeah.
He could also go for Wind Up Kittens, which is a card that is really strong going second. You can get rid of the gigantic Spright immediately, but he wants to have more resources. He wants to have another Runick spell so he can draw 3 cards, and Iperia is the way to go in this scenario.
Another draw for Joshua. I feel like in this final so far, he really got the chance to play more with Iperia, to draw more cards off of Iperia. Also with Capshell, he really was using both cards to a full potential, and now there comes the Runick Dispelling.
Runick spell, Dispelling, yeah. It is probably just going to summon a Hugin.
Indeed, indeed. Hugin is coming out to the field. And we are using the effect of the Runick Fountain, targeting 3 quick play spells, and it's resolving. Joshua gets to draw 3 more cards here from his deck.
Is this not Smasher's set there, or does Dinh-Kha say to himself, okay, it's fine if my opponent draws 3 cards?
I cannot imagine so. I think you have to go after the Runick Fountain, especially when the second copy is already gone. You could have gotten Joshua out of Runick Fountains entirely for this game, but Dinh-Kha probably just does not have these Spright Smashers there.
Let me get this card up again. Runick Fountain is such a beautiful spell card. Just look at this. It's a fountain.
Yeah, you could tell so by his name. But now we are linking away Hugin to get into what most likely should be Spright Elf now.
Yeah, what a hot take, Basti.
Thank you very much.
Spright Elf being summoned for the gazillionth time this weekend.
Yeah, it's not only very, very relevant for all the Spright decks, also is being played in Teal'c stacks and other decks that have access to Link 2s, which is basically any deck, because a Link summon of 2 is really easy to perform.
Oh, and destruction on the Runick Fountain of Dinh-Kha.
And that's also resolving. Joshua is just getting further and further ahead here in card advantage.
Wow, and those are 3 Runick spells and Forbidden Droplet gone. He actually kept the Forbidden Droplet going first.
That is indeed true, and Joshua really working his way through here. He's getting 3 cards of a Runick Fountain. He traded Destruction with Runick Fountain of his opponent. So 1 fountain gone for both players apiece.
I really want to know if Dinh-Kha has Spright Smashes set there.
Oh, we're going into another rank 2, and we already went through Gigantic, so that should be something else.
This has to be Onibimaru, right?
Oh, it's Mannequin Cat. We have number 29 Mannequin Cat hitting the field, and this card usually gets summoned on your first turn to have an option to summon out stuff from your deck, because that effect is usually the most important one of the cards. And you would summon out versus Spright most likely the Thunder King Ryo, which Joshua Schmidt is siding in, but I don't believe that he's siding this in going second, to be honest.
No, but what I believe he's going to side going second is probably a Chaos Hunter.
That could be true. Chaos Hunter is also a very, very neat option. And that is also a Dark monster. And Mannequin Cat needs the attribute or the type of a card. Therefore, Thunder or Dark both work when your opponent summons out the good old Spright Blue.
So, and Chaos Hunter is a really strong card. Oh, he's summoning out Red Resonator.
Ooh.
He actually wants to start gaining life points.
We are going for the Red Resonator, and Joshua is still not done with his turn, I can tell you that. He's still locked into rank, level, and link 2s, but as you said at the beginning of the turn, he probably doesn't care that much about it, and he has summoned plenty of them after that.
So this might become a race. I think Joshua realizes that in the next 5 minutes he's not going to get OTK'd or anything, and he can just target the gigantic Spright and gain so many life points.
He's up to 9,500, so there's quite a gap between the life points of Joshua Schmidt and Dinh-Kha Bui now. Interestingly enough, he went for the life points gain effect there of Red Resonator.
IP Masquerader is being summoned, and this is looking really good for Joshua, because you know what? Dinh-Kha Bui can't try to go for the same strategy, because the Red Resonator was banished earlier.
Indeed, indeed. So Dinh-Kha Bui has to come up with another way to deal a whole lot of damage, which will be hard. And there's the Spright Smasher is now in hand. So he did not have it set, but it is in hand, rather. What are we going after here? We're banishing our own Jet and the Spright Elf. Rightfully so, because we're not yet in main phase, so Joshua cannot react with the effect of Spright Elf yet. And you can see Dinh-Kha Bui is picking up his pace. He knows that it's going down time-wise, so he really has to hurry up here. And therefore he plays pretty quickly right there.
Cap Shell is resolving, he draws another card. Does he have a battle phase this turn, Basti? I don't think so. This should be his second turn of the game, and in his first turn he activated Runick cards. Oh wow, the Smiting Storm is activated. He is trying to banish 4 cards from his opponent's deck or summon a Hugin.
Indeed, there is the Hugin being summoned, and Hugin is... Nah, Hugin is not using its effect, but we are using the effect of Runick Fountain to draw 2 more cards.
Have 1 more monster on the field trying to defend your life points from being threatened.
And there's also Runick Tip now. And this time we cannot special anymore, so we will be searching. So we most likely will be going after Freezing Curses or Flashing Fire, I would think. And we're banishing the Eradicator. He didn't draw it and it was rather banished here now by Joshua.
This Eradicator would have been so important for Dinh-Kha Bui to just actually win the game right from the start, but he did not get to it even though he drew so many cards. And there's Wind Up Kitten also on Dinh-Kha's side. The time is ticking, 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and Joshua is up about 3,000 life points.
Indeed he is. And Dinh-Kha Bui, as we saw, was just going quicker and quicker and quicker. But still, time is going down. And with all those monsters in attack position, he even summoned the Wind Up Kitten in attack position, I kind of start to believe that actually the good old Dinh-Kha Bui might have a battle phase here. It might be time for attacking, because otherwise would not summon out the Wind Up Kitten in attack position, but Joshua
was used with Hugin, and there is the Nightmare Unicorn. Is he trying to get rid of the kitten? No, he can't. There is an elf. So is he trying to get rid of the elf, actually?
I think he already pointed towards the elf, but we're thinking about doing more even. I think we're chaining something now. It's certainly going to be the effect of Nightmare Unicorn, but what else is coming? Oh, is he? Oh, I mean, Gigantic Spright is on 3,200. And yes, Dinh-Kha Bui quickly puts it into the extra deck there.
Now they don't have the time anymore to think so long about their decisions. Both players are picking up their pace. This is really looking good for Joshua. Can he be the next and again a YCS champion?
3-time YCS champion Joshua Schmidt, maybe. We are trying to reborn the Cap Shell with Spright Elf. That is resolving. Mannequin Cat is now activating, as we were anticipating. There might be Chaos Hunter coming out now. But no, he's summoning out, first of all, the
Red Resonator again. He is gaining more and more life points. This is going to become impossible for Dinh-Kha Bui to win this game in 1 minute and 50 seconds.
Another Gigantic Spright is being summoned, but he's instantly being linked away for Dark. Dark probably going after the IP Masquerader in the graveyard of Joshua, or maybe one of his Spright monsters.
He has to decide quickly. Maybe.
That
to
could be
attack
the
for
way
a
to
lot
go.
of damage, but is it enough? There are so many, 11,700 life points. Avermax, the big Link 4, basically the only boss monster that he has, is being summoned to the field, but can it be enough? He passed the turn, he had no battle phase because of this runic spells in turn 1, and now Joshua just really needs to find a way to get rid of this Avermax and poke for more damage.
I don't even know whether he needs to do that, because he can actually just chill for now, because he is in the leading spot. I don't even know when I saw 11,700 life points for the last time, to be honest.
He's probably going for an elf or another Avermax on his own. He linked away those two monsters, checking the opponent's GY. Do I go into a dark? Are there any good targets? He barely has any blues anymore, so he goes into the dark, the gloomy charmer, and he is going to summon out the Spright blue from his opponent's GY. Blue is summoned to the field. It is going to get the Spright jet.
Yes, when you do not have any Spright blues anymore because you banished them with Spright cards or with the runic cards, then you can just go after the opponent with your dark. Just summon it out, and he's getting the Spright carrot from his deck right there, and it's looking great for Joshua, summoning out carrot.
Defense position. This is another card that can block a spell or trap. He does not really need anything more. He is going to probably summon out an elf, just gaining more and more resources, making this field more and more unbreakable for Dinh-Kha. And I want to see if there is a way that Dinh-Kha can turn this 7, 6, 5 seconds until the next YCS champion could be crowned. Impermanence on the Spright elf. Carrot negates it. Elf was tributed. Elf can resolve. And there is the timeout. So, is there any chance? Red Resonator is summoned. And Joshua Schmidt is the next YCS champion of Utrecht. Impossible. This man wins it all.
This guy, he was top 8 in Antwerpen, and now he got further. He gets to win this whole event, our YCS Utrecht champion of 2022, as you just said. What a fantastic player. What a fantastic final. Both players really, really did their thing there. But he is actually the one that takes it down.
Beating Dinh-Kha Bui in a heartbeat final, 2-0. What an intense game. I think we have seen one battle phase in the entire finals of the YCS.
That was insanity. It really showed us how strong this Runick Spright deck is, and it's so great to see that Joshua Schmidt is now a YCS champion for 3 times.
And Basti, honestly, I gotta give you credit. You predicted it all the time. You said it's going to be Runick Spright. Sure. This deck is going to win the entire event. So, you were right about that. And honestly, I can't stress it enough. Joshua Schmidt and Dinh-Kha Bui, 2 of the definitely best players in the entire world. Oh, what an amazing final.
Seriously. As I said earlier, those might have been the 2 most decorated players that have even entered the event. I mean, let's just break it down. Joshua, as we said, 2-time YCS champion and also countless YCS tops. But let's not disregard...
Really? I have no idea how many.
I don't know either. He's just topping everything, basically.
He's also topped worlds.
Yeah, indeed, he has. And Dinh-Kha Bui, on the other hand, of course, let's not disregard him. That one season he played, he won YCS Milan, got second at another YCS. It was YCS Utrecht even.
It was Utrecht.
And then he got
second twice at YCS Utrecht.
Indeed. And then also the 3rd place finish at YCS Düsseldorf as well.
Yeah, this guy is absolutely crazy.
Indeed.
He is so good at playing Yu-Gi-Oh! It's insane. Now he got 2nd place. So, we guys are saying goodbye to you. We have a ceremony for the players, for Joshua Schmidt, who won the event. So we are going to go right over. Bye from us.
I am joined by an elated Joshua Schmidt, who just won the final round of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series here in Utrecht in that mirror matchup. And what a tournament it was. What a final it was. Joshua, you are in disbelief. You stood up from your chair. Your head was in your hands. How do you feel?
I can't really describe it. It's amazing. It's insane. Yeah, I mean, you get all the way here and you play against Dinh-Kha Bui, who's like a very good player, and like he played very, very well. And like, yeah, no, I was fortunate enough to take it. So I'm so happy.
You must be so happy. It was such a grind to watch you guys going through each of those plays, moment by moment, seeing you take 2 games in a row. And then here you are, the champion of YCS Utrecht. So we are going to present you with your trophy. Guys, please give it up for your Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series champion, Joshua Schmidt! Congratulations, Joshua. that is going to be the end of our coverage from this Utrecht tournament. It's been absolutely amazing. I'm being joined on stage by all of our wonderful commentary team. This has been so wonderful. Thank you so much to everyone who's watched it. Thank you to KONAMI for putting this on. Thank you to my wonderful team here. And also, be sure to join us on Saturday, 12th of November for the next Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series tournament in Dortmund in Germany. It's going to be amazing. You guys do not want to miss it. But one more time, give it up for your new champion of YCS Utrecht. It's Joshua Schmidt, everybody! That's it from us. Good night, everyone.